to Inspiring Women with ADHD. I'm Renee Allen, the host of this podcast. Glad to be back with you. I had two of my grandsons staying with me last week, and as much as I wanted to record before they came, I didn't do that. And as much as I wanted to record while they were here, one is 7 months old. He needed a lot of care, and the other is 5. And he also needed a lot of care, and that just didn't happen. So I wasn't able to come on here, but I thought of you often. And I have to share something that I thought of. I don't know if you love You've Got Mail as much as I do, but I was thinking yesterday when I was about to record, but then didn't because I just didn't. Life is like that, right? I thought of this part of You've Got Mail where Meg Ryan is writing to Tom Hanks, although that's, Kathleen Kelly and Joe Fox. And if you don't know the movie, go see it or find it online or something. Stream it, buy it. If it gives you a choice of renting it for $3.99 or buying it for $9.99, buy it because you'll want to watch it again. But anyway, she says, "Dear friend, I like to start my notes to you as if we're already in the middle of a conversation. I pretend that we're the oldest and dearest friends as opposed to what we actually are, people who don't know each other." Well, she actually said each other's names and met in a chat room, but I just stopped at it. Don't know each other. And most of us don't know each other. I do hear from some people who listen to my podcast who are my friends, and I consider those of you that I don't know my friends too. So that's what I'm doing as I make this podcast. Is I like to start as if we're already friends. You're coming over. You're come as you are. I'm come as I am, or receiving as I am, which is often hair combed in the morning, not combed since, pulled back in a ponytail, and wearing a sweatshirt or a shirt. I tried wearing a sweater yesterday. Well, I did wear a sweater yesterday, and I thought of coming on here and making the episode because I was wearing a sweater and I could have been a little more dressed up. It was just an off-white sweater. It wasn't anything fancy, but for me, that was fancy, and I didn't stay in it really long because it's just not as comfortable. So if you're sensitive to clothing like I am, and some people think that that only happens with people on the autistic spectrum, it can happen for other people too. For people with ADHD, there are crossover symptoms, and there are people who have symptoms without a diagnosis. A diagnosis requires a number of symptoms or certain amount of years that you've had those symptoms, or from different categories. You can have symptoms without having a different diagnosis. Or you could have more things. You could have ADHD if you have both. That happens too. But for me, it's, I always love being comfortable. So back to the topic for today. It is, well, you probably already know because you've seen the title if you even looked. I can't even remember what I called it. I have a name for it. I'll just forget about that for right now because I can't find it. But it's the idea that we have these voices in our heads. We have a lot of thoughts that are random, scattered, spontaneous, just constantly coming. And sometimes that's just kind of an autopilot thing that's happening. And other times we notice those thoughts. And when we notice those thoughts, often we think, oh, this is what I'm doing again. And we keep doing it. And other times we tell ourselves, don't do that. But it's not very powerful. It's not as powerful to tell yourself not to do something when the other thoughts that you've already had or the mode that you're in is already so strong. And yesterday, as I was trying to get ready to leave, and as I do on Sundays, I go to church and I have a lot of things that I do before I leave. And getting dressed is different on Sundays than the other days because I am wearing something more dressy. I might be wearing a necklace, and I don't always set that stuff out the night before. Sometimes I do, and it's really helpful when I do. But a lot of times I don't. I've gone to bed late or we've had some event or something. And when it's time to leave, if I haven't already prepped as much as I can, like I like to bring a water bottle or have my bag ready with all the things that I'm planning to bring, often I'll have that stuff ready, but there are still thoughts that come into my mind last second. Like I had my water bottle ready yesterday. And then I thought, oh, but you know what? You might want hydration powder in it. I like to have hydration powder. I live in Florida. I get dehydrated easily, but I also spill on myself. Full disclosure, with all the trials of ADHD, or at least some that I have. I spill on myself often. So if I just have clear water and not a hydration powder that might be pink, then I won't get a stain on my dress or my sweater or whatever I'm wearing if it's just water. So that can come in handy. So I have all those thoughts in the planning of making my water bottle earlier. But last second, I think, yeah, go ahead and get the hydration powder. Yeah, go ahead and get the watermelon. Yeah, go ahead and add some more ice. Oh, well, then if you're going to do that so you don't spill, instead of having this lid, have this lid with a straw. And I have a hydro flask, so I have different lids, and then I'm changing out the lids. And then I think, are are you achy at all? Like, do you want to bring some ibuprofen just in case? Or, so I just keep thinking of things. I just keep thinking of things, and I can't even think of them all now because they come up in the moment all the time. And the funny thing is the things that matter, or at least my go-to things like my phone, my credit card slash wallet, if I have a wallet or a tiny thing that holds my credit cards and driver's license, my sunglasses, those are my essentials when I leave the house, and earbuds. If I'm driving by myself, I like to listen to something on with one earbud in. So, because I don't have a car that's new enough to be able to have it just come through the speaker. And all those things that come up are usually not those essential things. Usually the essential things, even the water bottle I see as essential, I know enough to have that handy, but I still might get to the car or get to the place that I'm going without that in my hand because I'm thinking of all the extras. Is it going to be colder than I'm dressed for once I get inside? Is it going to be air conditioning? Do I need a sweater? Will my grandchildren be there? Do I need toys for them? Oh, I want my calendar because sometimes I like to sit and write in my calendar and see my week. It just keeps going and going and going. I don't know if it's like that for you, but often when you have ADHD, you have so many thoughts pop up that they make it so you keep doing things, whether it's to prepare for where you're going or to prepare your house or for when you get back. Like if you're going on a trip and you know you need to leave for the airport a certain amount of time or in a certain time, and then you think, well, I'd rather have the laundry all done before I leave. It's easier to pack. And so you've been doing laundry while you're packing. But when it's time to leave, you think, oh, I need to, do one more load or switch to the dryer or whatever. I mean, that would be more important because you don't want to let it sit in the washer if you, at least if you remember. And but a lot of things like that, when it's just daily places that you need to go, an appointment or something like that, you might think of not just one, but maybe 5 more things. Well, maybe I'll just quick load the dishwasher before I leave because it's so much nicer to come back to a clean kitchen. Or maybe I'll quickly put away all the things that are scattered here or make up my bed or whatever it is that you didn't have time for some reason. You're not only planning for where you're going, but you're also planning for when you get back. And you keep having all these ideas. And surprise, surprise, you're late. You're late. And my dad used to tell, I don't know if I've shared this before, but my dad used to say to my mom, because we always had church at 10 o'clock, and he would always say, Dixie, you can't leave at 10 o'clock and get there at 10 o'clock. And because he wasn't late as often as she was. And I think of that all the time when I'm leaving at 9 o'clock and thinking, well, I know I'm not going to get there at 9 o'clock. And my mom knew it too, but it was just a funny thing to say because obviously when you leave at the same time you're supposed to be there, you're not going to get there on time. She knew that. And I know it too. But those words echo in my mind a lot. But what I realized was really powerful yesterday was having other words come to my mind from other people. And that is anytime that I've been in a situation like that, when someone is with me who's not afraid to say something, like my child, children are usually more bold at telling you what to do when they get older. I have to adjust to how I'm sitting, so hopefully this isn't too noisy. But one of my daughters, my youngest daughter, hung out with me a lot when she was in high school. And if I was doing some of those things, she would say, "Mom, you don't need to do the hydration powder. That'll make us late. Let's just go." And now, actually, she doesn't care if we're late. She doesn't care about that as much. She'll let me do it. But back then, I channeled her voice from back then in high school when she would say, "Mom, that doesn't matter. It's okay." And she's telling me, "Let go. You're gripping on to all of these things that really aren't your priority, but for whatever reason, you're making them your priority, and it's getting in the way of what you really want to do." And it helped me yesterday to listen to my imaginary conversation with her, even though she wasn't in the kitchen with me, to think of what she would be saying to me, because she's not in my head. She's not having all these thoughts disrupt it. If I'm saying that to myself, "Come on, you need to go," which I've said before, "Come on, you need to go." And I'll think, "But I'll just do this, but I'll just do this, but I'll just do this." And I'll think of so many more things. I'll get some fruit snacks. I'll get some snacks. I'll get some this for the car on the way home. I just overplan so much, which is nice in a way because you have a lot to eat on the way home and all that. But at the same time, it gets in the way. So thinking of either a person who's brought you into a moment of reality or helped you in some way that didn't really feel like help because you're actually like you're holding on to this tree thinking, I don't want to, obviously we're not holding on to a tree, but just think if you've got this tree and you're hugging this tree and you don't want to let go, and someone's pulling on you and pulling you on you and thinking that's not really your goal right now, let go of the tree, and they have to pull you away because whatever's going on in your mind is making you think that's important to just stay there and be like a 2-year-old that's throwing a fit and saying, I'm not going. And it's not really like that. It's not that kind of rebellion. But for some reason, you're fighting going, and you might need more than your own voice to be a voice of reason. Another way of thinking of this, if you don't have someone like that that has said those kind of things to you, is do you have a child or do you have somebody else in your life that you've said those things to? If you're a mom and you have a child with ADHD or a child who doesn't care about being on time, you may have said those things to them. I did this so much with 2 of my sons when they were probably teenagers more than younger, maybe middle school age, but it seemed more like teenagers, where it was time to go and they're like, "Okay, I can be ready." When you're like, "Well, we need to leave in 20 minutes." "Okay, I'm ready." And they wait to the last second to take a shower, and then they come out, and it really doesn't take them that long to get ready because, their hair, they just comb their hair or whatever. But then they come in and say, "I need to get something to eat." And you think you haven't allowed yourself enough time to eat. So that means you have to grab something and go. We're getting in the car. "Well, I really want, this." And they have a different time frame. And you're the person of reason saying, "We'll be late for the doctor's appointment if we don't get in the car now. Well, I need to brush my teeth. It's a dentist appointment or something. Grab your toothbrush. When we get there and we're in the waiting room, you can brush your teeth." So you are the voice of reason for them. And you have to think of the things that you would say to someone else that was getting in the way of your goals, because you're getting in the way of your goals when you're doing these kinds of things. And you may not have somebody there to tell you that. So I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but you have to have something to get you to stop being in that mode. And I know when I'm in that mode, my ideas are so much stronger than my voice of reason, my own voice of reason, is that I tell myself, "But I can't stop, but I can't stop, but I can't stop." Like I'm online and I start going down a rabbit hole of shopping online, and I'm going to order something from Costco or something. And then I think, well, let's compare it to Amazon's prices, or let's go to Target and see what theirs are. And then you just keep going. You just keep going and going and going and going and going. And you notice you're doing it, but you tell yourself you can't stop. You really can. You just need to bring in that voice of that other person if your own voice isn't working. Whoever it is, your sister, your daughter, your husband, your friend, what you would say to your child. It's giving yourself someone else's perspective, like what would they say, and letting that be your helper. Like they're your coach in that moment, but they're not really there. You're just pretending as that person. So Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So, why do we do these kinds of things when we have ADHD? Well, I will show you. Let me see if I can find it. I did a little research. Hopefully, it's still here. And there are a lot of reasons that we do these kinds of things. When we need to leave, why leaving the house, the apartment, the hotel room, wherever it is you need to get out and go, why that is so hard when you have ADHD. And this isn't like why it's hard to leave, like because you're depressed or you have anxiety and you can't leave. It's although anxiety does come in a little bit with this, which is interesting. So, one is when we have ADHD, we have a hard time, our brains have a hard time with switching tasks. And even though your plan is to get in the car and go, or walk out to a bus stop and go, or go, well, however your mode of transportation is, your brain has a hard time switching from getting ready to go and actually going. And so you might resist the going, even though that may not make sense. You might be resisting it. And it's a transition point, like to switch from I'm in this mode of getting ready to now I need to get out because when you go out, there's going to be a different experience. And it might be just fine, but maybe you have some discomfort about that experience. You're not sure you actually want to be in that social situation or whatever. So to alleviate that discomfort of switching gears, doing something different, being in a different environment, bracing yourself for going into work or whatever it is, that one more thing you think of getting turns into three things, five things. You're really delaying yourself. It's not that you're intentionally doing it. It's not even conscious. It's subconscious. I don't know how to say that, but it's just that you're not managing your transitions. You've done this one step. Now you need to switch. You need to pick up. You need to stop doing what you're doing because it's so easy. I don't know if you would call it hyperfocus or not, but it's so easy to start doing something and then just keep going and going and becoming somewhat obsessive with it. I know for me, there's kind of some adrenaline that's built with that, and it feels good to be productive in that way. And it does feel good to get in the car and put on some music or a podcast or something, but it's a transition, it's a change. And sometimes we resist that. Another is just the ideas keep coming and coming and coming and coming. And you just have this brain that just one thought triggers another thought. So it's not just that all the thoughts are popping out of nowhere, but when you think of the one thing like, okay, I'm going to grab my water bottle and put it in my bag, it's time to walk out. That one thought triggers another thought that says, oh, maybe I'll make it a flavored water. Maybe I'll add more ice. Maybe I'll put a different lid on it or put it in a different water bottle. And And if you're clumsy, klutzy, whatever you want to call it, like I am, and you're trying to do all this stuff so quickly, you might, spill and knock it over and then you have more work to do. It can be frustrating. Even setting up for my podcast today. I brought in this drink that had ice in it. I bought a armrest cup holder thing that on this armrest of this chair that I'm in, I could have a surface for my drink. And I wasn't sure I loved it. I was thinking of returning it, but I thought, no, just try it out. So I put my drink on it, but the drink, my cup, it's not even very wide. It didn't fit in the cup holder. So that's the first problem. And this cup holder thing had good reviews, but it didn't fit there. And so I thought, well, there's also space, like you would have a remote on or something, and I don't need that for a remote, so I can put it there. But as I was adjusting things with my microphone here, I moved my water or my drink, I guess it wasn't water, but anyway, I put it on my lap here or something. I don't know what happened, but before I knew it, it had tipped over. It was like a sparkling water drink with ice and everything. It was all over my lap, all over. I had to clean it up. And yeah, just too many things in your brain at once. The more the ideas come up and you start thinking, but I'll make this better, I'll make that better, I'll do this. It can just be kind of an onflex of things that lead to a new problem to deal with. So, but let's go to the next thing, emotional regulation and preparation for comfort. So this is interesting. So emotional regulation is managing like how angry you get, how sad you get, how excited you get. So dysregulation, emotional dysregulation is a part of ADHD. And sometimes that baseline can, you can go higher, lower, depending on the situation, how exhausted you are, how much you maxed out your brain, etc. But when you have ADHD, you also have a heightened sensitivity to discomfort. And maybe a lot of people would argue, one might argue, everyone's not comfortable with discomfort. But some people, I'm raising my hand here, are very, very distracted by discomfort. So that's why I will get dressed up for an occasion and really weigh, do I want to match the level of how everyone's dressed and be uncomfortable physically in what I'm wearing? Or do I want to be comfortable physically in the clothing I'm wearing and maybe be uncomfortable mentally thinking, I didn't dress appropriately. They look way cuter than I do or whatever, like be in my head. I want to be in my head or in my body. But if you have ADHD, you might have clothing discomfort that distracts you from being able to enjoy where you are, whatever you're doing. You might have discomfort how you're seated. You might be antsy. You might have the hyperactive part of ADHD and need to switch how you're seated all the time. You might have a hard time sitting in a Zoom call because you have to stay in the same place. If your camera's on, you kind of feel like you do, and you may not be able to move around as much. So you're sensing this discomfort and it's distracting from what you're doing. And so if you're planning to go somewhere, whatever it is, a concert, and you're only able to take this one bag that's clear, that's this size or whatever, and you're thinking, but what if I need this? And you're somebody who's used to preparing for, the end of the world or something by everything that you bring. I want an extra pair of shoes if I'm going to Disney World so I can change my shoes partway through the day if my feet hurt. What if I get cold? You look at the weather. If I get there, what if I get hot? So when I go to Disney World, I don't, well, it doesn't get that cold here in Florida. And in LA, I'm thinking, or Anaheim, because we went to Disneyland. We lived in California far longer than we did here. We just moved here a few years ago. But I don't want to be cold in the evening. I don't want to be hot during the day. So if you bring a jacket, it takes some planning because you have to carry that jacket around. If you have a stroller, that's great because you can put it in the stroller and hopefully no one steals anything from the stroller. I've heard stories, but I usually put stuff in the stroller. But if you have to have something that you carry, I am very uncomfortable with weight on my shoulders. So I I have to really weigh, how comfortable do I need to be and what do I need to carry to make myself comfortable? What if I get thirsty? What if I get dehydrated? You bring a water bottle. When I go to Disney World, I should make a whole podcast about going to Disney World, although everybody else probably has too, but I don't like to stand in line. And Disney World is not as good as Disneyland at having water station refill places. And it's not just, like a place to put your water bottle like you do at the airport or the gym or something and fill it up. First of all, that's supposed to be filtered. It doesn't taste good in Anaheim or in Orlando. It's horrible tasting water. So I'm sensitive. My discomfort of drinking water that tastes horrible is very high. And standing in line is high. But if you go to a place that has fill up your own water with ice, like a soda fountain thing, then that's a different thing. If it's that crushy ice or something, you can tolerate the water that doesn't taste as good better because it's so cold. And maybe you just get past that because you get some ice too. I love eating ice. But in Anaheim, they have a lot of those places where you don't have to stand in line. You can just go into Pizza Planet or something and fill up your water bottle. You can always get in line and ask for a cup of ice water. But what if you don't want to stand in line? You don't want to take the time to do that. You have a problem with lines. So I bring my own water bottles that are disposable, and or recyclable, and I fill them up with water and hydration powder and kind of have a balance of each. Problem is they're really, really heavy. And the other problem is I drink a ton of them, but all day long I just take them and put them in recycling, put them in recycling, put them in recycling. And I found that I'd rather be uncomfortable with the weight on my back than I would dehydrated, but it's a struggle. So think of the prep that I have for going to Disney World. It's the night before. I mean, it's months before because when people in our house, throw a bottle, they had from a smoothie or something into the recycling, I think, don't do that. Put in the dishwasher. I'm gonna take that to Disney World next time, and we don't go that often. We have an annual pass, but we don't go that often. But that's my method, and that's what prep I need to be comfortable. So my brain and your brain may do the same thing for different situations, is trying to look at the disastrous experiences you've had in the past or see ahead to any possible discomfort you may have. And it's not always possible to see all of it. But I have a friend who went to, what's it called? Like Havasu, and it seems like that's a lake. But in Zion National Park or Bryce Canyon, I know I'm not good with specifics, but one of those red rock kind of places in Utah, southern Utah, it was a canyon that you have to get a permit to go on a hike, and there can only be 8 or 12 people. And so these couples went, and you have to have water shoes and all this stuff. And the pictures looked amazing. She said it was like a great, great experience. But her feet hurt so much, and if she'd worn different shoes, the whole experience would have been different. So that's the kind of thing that she tried to plan for, and 100% anytime she does that again, she'll know. So when you've had a lot of disastrous experiences with blisters or not having Band-Aids to help with your blisters or whatever it is, then you do something different the next time. What if you get overstimulated at a concert or a movie theater? Do you bring earplugs? What if you want to see better? You're frustrated that you can't see someone's face at a concert and you bring binoculars. All those things that you're just going into. I don't want to be uncomfortable, or I don't want to be wishing I'd brought this. Just a little tip for concerts. If you have to go to a concert or a game or something and you can only bring a tiny purse, well, a lot of the stadiums now have bring your own, like you can bring one water bottle empty and then you can fill it there. And it's not always the best tasting water, but it's usually ice cold. So that's good. But I found when we went to see Taylor Swift in Tampa, I was I'm laughing because it was such a hyper-focused thing where I read every forum, every Facebook group comment about the size purse that you could bring to Raymond James Stadium in Tampa and what they would accept and what they wouldn't, and the size of the card. And sometimes if you kind of squish it in the card, because I'm thinking, but I've got this bag, but would that work? And and then looking online to which one should I buy, and maybe I'll buy one used, and so many hours just to bring a little purse into a concert that wouldn't fit anything that I wanted besides my wallet, my credit card and my phone maybe. It's kind of ridiculous. But I found that you could bring a jacket and they could have giant pockets. So I have a raincoat that has 2 giant pockets that are bigger than any bag you can bring in. And I put things that I wanted in there, like an empty water bottle, or I don't know what else. I don't know, maybe they didn't have that then. I can't even think of what I would have wanted to bring. It could have even been binoculars. I guess it doesn't matter. But point is, there were things that I wanted to bring that wouldn't fit in my purse. Maybe even a few snacks that we're probably not supposed to bring in. But you could bring things in your pocket. You can bring a jacket. You could even bring a blanket, which is kind of bizarre. I didn't bring a blanket. It was hot. But I brought the raincoat. I wore it in or had it over my thing, had the things in the pockets. And then I had this bag that was from Anthropology that years ago when I went there, I think it was my birthday, and my daughter said, "Oh, they give you like I don't know what they give you, a discount or something on your birthday." I can't remember. But we went there and they had these really thin bags instead of just a plastic bag to send your stuff home, whatever it was I bought on sale, I'm sure, because it's a lovely store, but it's kind of expensive. And it was a really thin, like a gauze bag that was kind of blue and orangish red. I don't know if you ever saw it. It had a pattern on it. And the whole bag, you could squish up smaller than your fist, probably. And so I thought, okay, there's a shoulder bag because you could carry a shoulder bag out of the stadium because they sold them. They sold Eras Tour bags that were canvas. So you could carry a bag inside the stadium. You could carry it out of the stadium. I spend so much time solving a problem and thinking it through. That doesn't matter to anybody else. But I brought that little wadded up bag and just put it in my pocket. It wasn't a bag that had anything in it. It looked like a tissue or something. And it was in my pocket along with all the other things that could fit in that bag. And then once I got in the stadium, I took that out. I had my stuff in a bag. Some things maybe were still in the pocket. But anyway, yeah, that was just my little hack. But if you do this, it feels like it's overpacking or over preparing. And some people may call it that when you're packing to go on a trip, but it's really a protection for yourself for emotional discomfort or just discomfort, body discomfort, but even just emotionally, you get distracted, you get more kind of hyped up or something when things aren't balanced. And your brain is trying to create that safe experience for you, and not safe as in, something's dangerous, but just a more comfortable experience for yourself. So watch your brain and see what it's doing when it's time to go somewhere and you keep thinking of things. Or am I the only person who does this? I'm always I always feel like I'm at risk for being that person that just like, Renee, no one else does this. And one thing I've talked about before is time blindness. It's a thing. I didn't think I had it when I first started my podcast, actually. Oh, time blindness. People with ADHD can't tell how long something's taking. They can't sense time accurately. They don't know that when they do just one thing, that it will take longer than 1 minute. They don't know if they run to put on their makeup last second, that it can take longer than it feels like. Even if you have a clock in there, have clocks everywhere you go if you can. But yeah, you may do this. So packing one thing, grabbing one more thing, you may underestimate how long it takes to load the dishwasher quickly and get it running. Or what if you get a text and you think, I'm just going to answer this text? I've done that so many times and you don't want to, but it might be important. They need to hear from you for some reason. And so you answer it and then you're late to your next thing. So yeah, 10, 20 minutes can go by. Who knows how? Other things. Okay, think of this. Executive function. So executive function is what our brains do to accomplish things, to process information. These are all things that require executive function. And when you have ADHD, it's very highly likely that you have a form of executive dysfunction. So leaving the house, apartment, home, whatever your home is, requires planning ahead. That's executive function. Prioritizing what's more important, getting one more thing done or leaving, or what do I get done first? Do I put on my makeup, do my hair, or do I answer this text? Sequencing tasks, deciding what you need to do first in order to do something, to accomplish something. Estimating time, regulating emotions, decision making, gear gathering, making sense of what's in your mind when you go into a room to get something to put in your bag. You may get distracted by something else. And it takes executive function to stop yourself from continuing with that momentum that you have. Think of all those things I just listed. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 executive functions happening all at the same time. If any of them is overloaded, well, having to do them all at the same time is overload. And you slow down or you get wound up, who knows which. But you're not getting out the door as fast. And you might have some anxiety. I mentioned the transition thing before about managing switching from one thing, like just stopping yourself from doing something to transition to the next thing, but also just having anxiety of doing the next thing. Even if you don't feel anxious, you might stall by fixing something last minute or cleaning something last minute or doing something that feels more in control than going into an environment that you can't control. Ooh, last thing. Oh, maybe there's more than one thing. See, I'm having a hard time managing my tasks here or just keeping track of them. But that just even just noticing something can turn into a hyper focus. Like noticing a mess that you have to do. So it's a hyper focus at the wrong moment. When you have time to do it, you might not feel like doing it. But when you're ready to leave and you have all that energy, you might see something important that you didn't do. Oh, since I thought of it now, I need to do it right now. I need to fix something that I've ignored. I'm just going to fix this really quick or clean this up really quick or whatever. Or, oh, I keep forgetting that I need to go to UPS and bring some returns, whatever it is. And so instead of just grabbing something to go, you realize that you have to go and print out another label or find the QR code or whatever. So all those things just grab your attention and take more time. Some of the things that stopping a task requires are things that are hard for people with ADHD. It takes the ability to control your impulses. If your impulse is to keep going and you have impulse control problems, that's when you really need that voice of somebody else helping you saying, come on. Have you ever either taken a child or had somebody do this with you? It's okay. I don't know. Maybe because I have a lot of kids, I've had a few that are just like, it's okay, mom, we're going this way now. It's okay. Speaking of which, I told my daughter I'd take her dogs out for a walk before dark, and it's getting dark. So I need to tell my brain right now to finish up. But yeah, your mental load is already high, and your ADHD load multiplies. When you have ADHD, that mental load multiplies because you have to think of so many things at once to make sure you're on track. And it can be a lot. It can be a lot. So I'm going to stop here because how long have I talked? Almost 40 minutes. Maybe close to that. Oh my goodness. Now I'm thirsty. One of these days, I'm going to learn how to pause graciously here so I can get a drink of water. I see people on podcasts all the time, when you watch them on video, just, drinking their water, their soda, their whatever energy drink, their coffee. I don't know what they're drinking, but I don't hear it. They probably push a button that silences them. Maybe they take out the sound later. I don't know what they're doing. But to me, that's an executive function overload to think I have to stop it here. I have to stop it here. I have to do this. This is actually a mute button here, and that's one there, but I have two microphones because I can't figure out. Sorry if I just made a noise with that one. I can't figure out how to get it to work best for audio and YouTube without two microphones, without learning a new software. And I just rather do what makes sense to me or what I was able to learn. But anyway, thank you for being here. I will be back. Who knows when, but it'll probably be a few days. Because I need to stop making promises because it's hard to stay on track sometimes when life can be unpredictable. But I'm going to go walk those dogs. She has 3 dogs, and my daughter isn't feeling well, so she's staying the night with us a few nights till she gets better. And I need to get them out so they can run. But I will talk to you later, and give me a 5-star review, whatever it is, all those things that podcasters ask you to do. Subscribe, download, likes. I don't know whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite platform. But thanks for being here. I will be back. Bye.
Double chins, rubber ducks, squeaky cheese and paper cups, applesauce, Superman, rocket ships and Peter Pan, boogie boards and parachutes and soda cans, jumping jacks and pillowcases for my hands, Donald Duck and fire trucks and Pokemon, Santa Claus and Johnny Depp and Donkey Kong, chocolate chips and zippers and F-14, little children jumping on the trampoline, model trains and passing lanes and super glue, tangerines and magazines and kangaroo. Oh yeah. of sound has yet been found, but not by me. I buttered my toast, spread on some grape jelly. I don't mean to boast, but I'm a chef and a good one. My grandma can't hear me. The breakfast is done. Ever getting colder, ever older, so I run. Open windows, broken shadows. Frozen dreams are left for tomorrow. Without a cause, no time for a pause. Rewind, I've run out of time to sing melodies and harmonies. I'm cut short, the silence of sound has yet been found, but not by me.